What is up, good lifers? Welcome to the Good Life Property Management Podcast. Hope everyone's feeling good today. I'm your host, Steve Welty, and this is a show for property management entrepreneurs trying to build great businesses and live the good life. So my goal here, as always, help you build a bigger future. And before we get started today, I just ask that if you get something out of this episode or any future episodes, please just refer someone to the podcast or write a review. And not so much for what it will do for me, but it will help the show and things like that. But really what it will help you, how it will help you. There's a law that I, go by called the law of giving, which means, you put out into the world what you want to get back. So it's a fundamental law of the universe. And so if you're struggling for reviews, give a review. If you're struggling and want knowledge or help or love or money, whatever it is, just start giving that and give it abundantly and your life will change for the better. I firmly believe that. So enough of that. So now I want to get started. I have a very special guest with us today. His name is Salvatore Friscia. Did I say that correctly, Sal?
Salvatore Friscia.
Oh, Friscia. Okay, Friscia. And then Sal, do you prefer Sal or Salvatore?
I go by Salvatore.
Salvatore. Excellent. Well, Salvatore is a social media expert. He's a property management company owner in San Diego, so same market. And I've been really impressed with what I've been seeing him doing on social media. He just created a social media bootcamp that is very unique. I don't see anyone else doing it. That's specifically for property managers to help them get more leads and increase their reach and build their brand. And, but before we get to that, I just wanted to welcome Salvatore to the program.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you having me on. It's always good when we get a chance to talk. I think that it's my intent to bring value to our fellow property managers today and to shed some light on a subject that you touched on that is very still nuanced in our industry, but definitely very important. So it's my intent to shed some light on that and bring some value to the podcast today.
Very cool. Well, we appreciate that. So give us a little background. Like, how did you start in social media? When did you start? What did that look like?
It's a great question. I love this question. Everybody always asks me this question because, as you know, when you say property management and social media, they typically don't coincide. I would say approximately 3.5 to 4 years ago, while many property managers were attending NARPM conventions and PM Growth Summit conventions, as they should be, I was attending social media conventions. I realized early on that if I wanted to no longer compete in this industry and start dominating, I needed to do something different. I needed to do something different than every other property manager here in San Diego. And my thought process was, let me go and get in the ear of some of these real estate social media influencers, bug them, bother them, annoy them to the point where they might share with me some of their information that they were using to make themselves successful in whatever business that they were doing, and bring that information back to San Diego and put together a property management social media strategy that would work for my business. And I had success in doing that, Steve. I was, as you know, I would like to say massive success here in local market, but I also received success on the national market. We received notification from local as well as national in regards to major real estate platforms such as Zillow and Inman Real Estate News. And that really propelled us to the top of the property management industry when it came to our marketing and our social media marketing strategy.
Right. Wow, that's very cool. I read a little bit about that, and that's some great notoriety. And I think you got that because you were kind of a trailblazer. And I love how you went for the difference. Or being different. I think we share that kind of natural instinct to not always compete where everyone else is, but to try to do things differently. That's kind of what fires me up too. So I love how you went that different route. Now, a lot of people might say, oh, social media, I'm tuning off. Facebook, whatever. It's a waste of time. Like, why should people care about social media in your opinion?
Okay, so specifically to property management, that's a great question. And I get asked this question a lot when I'm doing presentations around the country. Property managers always hit me with that question. A lot of times it's followed by, I don't see the importance or I don't have the time. So what I like to say to property managers is, if you want to stay relevant in this industry, you will need to incorporate social media marketing into your business. It's inevitable. This is not me being the bearer of bad news. This is just factual. If you look at other industries that pushed back on changing or incorporating social or doing something other than what they have been doing, they no longer exist. You can take a look at our Ubers and our Lyft and what they did to the taxi cab business. You can go even further and look at, Toys R Us and how Amazon displaced them just basically by having an audience and using social media to grab that audience, provide value, and to continue to feed off that audience and then grab market share. So I tell property managers, and a lot of them don't want to hear it, and unfortunately, those are the ones that, in my opinion, are no longer going to exist in the next 3 to 5 years as we continue to move forward towards, Steve, honestly, we're at the infancy of what social media marketing is about. And a lot of people feel like, well, I missed the boat. I'm too late to the game. I don't understand this stuff. You are at the very beginning when it comes to social media marketing, and there is opportunity. And I like to use a word that fits in nicely with our industry. There is an opportunity for land grab right now on most social media platforms for property management companies to differentiate themselves. And what I like to teach property managers is 3 simple words: to tell your story. Mm-hmm. That's what's important. You and I touched on this in our pre-discussion, you and I are in the same market. Right. We're not in a sense competing per se, but we are separating ourselves based on telling our own story. And I tell that to a lot of property managers that if you want to dominate in your market, if you want to set yourself apart, you have to tell your individual story. It's the one thing that really separates all of us property managers, because if you look at it, we typically do the same thing. We typically do the same thing. There are varying degrees of how well property managers do it. I get that. But in a sense, we all do the same thing. But where we differentiate is based on our own personal story and the office culture that each property management company has. That's where we can really set ourselves apart and make a difference going forward in our industry.
Mm-hmm. And I think you put owners aside for a second. That's a huge reason to be in, the main reason probably, but even just tenants. Like tenants are checking social media platforms, they're checking your reviews. And so, it's gonna be a differentiator in that regard too.
I agree. I think that, right now, in the past, it used to be, you hear a lot of people say, well, I'm referral based. Well, if you look at statistics, more people statistically will trust reviews, online reviews, than they will a referral from somebody that they know. So it's become mainstay that people will look at reviews. They will also want to connect with you personally. So a lot of people, there's 2 big mistakes that property managers make when it comes to social media marketing. There's a lot of them, but the 2 big ones that stand out are 1, they don't start, and 2, they sub out their social media marketing to a third-party automated company or third-party social media company, and they lose that personal touch to their social media marketing. People want to connect with you on a personal level. They don't want to connect with you as a business. And you will see that some of the top companies and corporations worldwide are paying significant money to dumb down their marketing so that they are more appealing and seem more personal in their approach as opposed to a corporate approach or a marketing approach that we've had in the past where it's one-dimensional and it's just putting content out there and hoping people see it and react to it. People now want to be engaged with, they want to be a sense of a community and have that 2-way engagement that audience can then dive into and recognize you and separate you from some of your other competitors or some of the other people out there doing what you're doing in your space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. In a lot of instances, I think it can be worse. I was looking at some other company today on Facebook who had a beautiful Facebook page, property management company. And then I started scrolling through and they had basically 0 engagement on any of their stuff because it was you could tell someone was hired to do it and there was really nothing. It was like an empty suit, right?
Correct. And we see a lot of that. Just doing social for the sake of I'm doing social is very prevalent in our industry. People will say, yes, I'm on Facebook or I'm on this platform, but just being on a platform doesn't really help your business. It's not what it's intended for. You're basically wasting your time if you're going to go that route. You will see a lot of people, and you mentioned Facebook. I'm glad you did. Facebook is getting more and more difficult to get engagement and to actually get reach because it's tightening up, because larger companies are starting to realize that that's a better way to ad spend for their marketing rather than, a 30-second commercial that's going to cost millions of dollars. They can put a fraction of that budget towards Facebook advertisement and get better engagement, get better reach. So now we're competing with, more marketing dollars from Fortune 500 and Fortune 50 companies, and that trend's going to continue. So early on, I touched on the point that, there's an opportunity to get land grab, a market share. Mm-hmm. Now is the time for a lot of property managers to engage in this, because that opportunity may not be there in the next 3 to 5 years. It's just going to get more difficult as we go.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that. So, I was checking out the Property Management Social Media Bootcamp, and you talk about mainly 3 pillars. So generating leads through social media, building a brand, and extending your reach.
Correct.
Now, I know you may not want to give away all the secret sauce here, but can you give us some basic ways to look at each of those? Maybe, for instance, generating leads.
Sure. Well, I say all this, and the great part about putting together the Property Management Social Media Bootcamp course is that I'm not somebody from an outside industry selling widgets telling you that what I did is successful and you can do it too in property management without having any experience or not being able to say, I did this and I do it every single day. And I think you know that. You see, we follow each other. We run in some of the same circles. You see what I put out there. It's what I'm doing every single day. So I'm coming at this perspective from a property manager standpoint. Mm-hmm. When I say to get leads, extend your reach, and build your business and your brand, I say that because I've done that myself personally. To get leads, I utilize these platforms by not leading with property management. And that confuses a lot of property managers. Mm-hmm. I get a big pushback on that. You get blank face and then the sigh, and then people say, well, I don't understand. What I mean by that is that instead of leading with property management, you need to lead with telling your story and becoming personable first. Yeah. We've been able to get about 70% of our leads now come from social media marketing and content marketing. And the ability to leverage these platforms, not only Facebook, but I focus on Facebook and Instagram. And I also talk about video, which is not a platform, but is so crucial to all the platforms that I incorporate those 3 main pillars, Facebook, Instagram, and video, as the triangle that's important for most property managers to start building their property management social media strategy. Now, yes, there are other platforms, but honestly, Steve, I don't think that property managers have evolved to that point on social media marketing where we even need to get into those platforms. I mean, when you talk about LinkedIn, or you talk about YouTube, or you talk about Twitter, these platforms, they're probably secondary in regards to if you just focused on Facebook and Instagram, you would definitely, get better leads, you would increase the amount of leads you can get, and also you would extend your reach. Now, that's the second part of what I talk about in the bootcamp course, is extending your reach. One of the biggest problems that property managers have is obscurity. Nobody knows who you are. So when somebody wants to look for a property manager, what do? They go to Google, okay, or they go search Yelp, or they search some other means. They don't have somebody top of mind. And that's because nobody is putting themselves out there as the face of their company, and they need to be. People don't want to do business with companies. People want to do business with people. Mm-hmm. And they will pick up on the fact that you are a property manager, or in our case, we're both broker owners of property management companies. They will pick up on that secondarily. It does not need to be what you lead with. And that's a great way to extend your reach. And then to build your business and your brand, well, a testament to building your business and your brand, by putting out tons of content that is relevant and that has value, people will then see you as an expert in your community, in your field, and they will rely on you, as they have for me personally, where I've been asked for local feedback on market. I've asked for national. I'm now speaking all across the country. And it's an opportunity to put yourself in a position to help other people, as I'm trying to do with the property management industry. So early on when I started with, this has been about a year journey now, in terms of putting together the Property Management Social Media Bootcamp course. And it started out with just saying, well, I've been successful in using these methods, and now I want to help the industry. I wasn't concerned about the competitive issue of it, but more importantly, we have bigger issues in our industry. There are a lot of disruptors coming down the road, Steve, that are going to cause some issues for the property management industry. the Zillows, the Redfins, and Facebook, they're all getting into property management from a third-party standpoint where they will be rolling out, and in the case of Zillow, you're probably aware of this, they have recently rolled out tools that are going to directly compete with individual property management companies. And this trend is going to continue similarly to how it has continued in the real estate industry, where they will be directly competing. And I'll tell you what, a lot of property managers who are not building that audience, who are not getting recognition, they will lose relevancy. So I saw this as a way to help the industry to say, guys, we need to, as an industry, we need to step up our game. We are behind the realtors. Mm-hmm. We are behind the mortgage brokers. We are behind the fix and flip guys when it comes to getting attention and using these social media platforms to our advantage. So that's the purpose for me rolling out the Property Management Social Media Bootcamp course, was just to help property managers all across the country get their social media strategy in shape.
That makes a lot of sense. And you're right, like to your earlier point with the taxi industry and the other industries that aren't changing, they go away. And so I think if we're going to compete, we got to be more personal. People want to do business with a person, like you said, not necessarily a business. So what would be a good strategy? So, people should, like, what could they start doing today? Just, for instance, like something we do is we'll sit down with my marketing person and we'll think, okay, what's going on at the culture of our company and what can we highlight? Do you have similar strategy sessions, and like, what do you know? How do you know what content to put out or how to tell your story?
Sure, that's a great question, and I love that. And I watched your stuff, and I've seen you evolve on your social media platforms, and I give you kudos for that. You guys are doing a great job over there. I would say that don't be afraid to mix personal and business. If you watch my social media platforms, you will see, and I'm sure you probably have, that you will see my wife and I at the beach enjoying a sunset. You will see us at the mall, maybe at dinner or enjoying a nice lunch. You will see that aspect of what we do. First and foremost, then we also show our office culture. And you guys do a great job of that as well. It's important for people to see the inside of your office, to know your team members. It's important to give them kudos when they do a good job. We get business, and the people who contact our office, they know my wife's name. They know what the inside of our office looks like. They even know our team members by name, and we've never spoken with them ever before, but they know who we are, and they're ready to do business with us because we don't have to go through all the qualification of what do you guys do, how much do you charge, how long is it going to take for you to rent my property, will you do it for, if someone's at 8%, will you do it for 6%, 4%, whatever percent? Those types of questions are no longer the lead questions. They know what we do. They know who we are. The trust factor's in place, and now they're just ready to do business with us, and we can sign them up and move forward. So it's important to show that, as well as to show your community and your city. So now, Steve, you and I are very fortunate. We live in one of the most beautiful places in the country. We live in sunny San Diego. And when you and I walk around town and we're doing our stuff, we're secondary to our beautiful city. Well, there are a lot of other property managers who live in great places too, and they need to take advantage of that. Whether you live in Salt Lake City, Las Vegas, Nevada, or you're back east and somewhere in Pennsylvania or in Florida, you need to showcase your city and your community and let people see you more than just a property manager, but somebody that they're going to go to find out what's happening in their community, the pulse of their community. Mm-hmm. They need to be able to look at you as, and you've probably heard this before when we listen to guys like Gary Vee and we listen to guys like Grant Cardone, they need to go to you more as a media person instead of just as the property manager. We're really just putting ourselves in a box when we talk about property management all the time. We need to be the person who's letting everybody know that we are the go-to for our community and our city. And then also, by the way, yes, we're a property management company. We'd love to manage your property and provide you excellent service as we do it.
Right. I love that. So not only are you being very personal, in between some business, but a lot of personal, but you're highlighting the city. I think that's something a lot of us aren't doing, us included, like doing a lot of highlighting the city. Sure. That's really important. You mentioned Grant Cardone. Did you go to the 10X conference this year?
I didn't go to the 10X conference this year. I will be going in Miami next year. I've had an opportunity to be on Grant's show, the Cardone Zone, a long time ago. I do follow a lot of what Grant talks about. I think he's a mentor and inspires me in terms of his approach towards not only business but real estate. So I am a big proponent of 10X and the different things that he puts out there on his social platforms.
Very cool. Yeah, me too. So something else that just popped into my mind is, so some people listening might say, well, I can't be on camera. I'm shy. I hate social media. There might be someone on your team that loves social media, and this could be something that could reinvigorate their fire, to like, do you think that's okay to hand it off to a team member if you as the broker is not something you're passionate about?
Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
No.
No.
No, you need to get comfortable with it. And I did a video on this where I gave 3 tips for people, helping them learn how to use Facebook Live. Let's use Facebook Live, for example, here. Mm-hmm. How to use Facebook Live better. Now, I don't come at social media from a corporate approach. I come at social media from an entrepreneur approach. So you will not get a whole thing about analytics and that type of approach. But what I will tell you is that if you're in business as an entrepreneur, guess what? It's not always easy. These are things you need to suck up and do. It's just true. You need to step up to the plate, and you need to learn how to get on camera. We all have things that we feel, that aren't great, or maybe we feel like we don't look good. You need to get over that. And a way to do that is by practicing. Now, on Facebook, there is a way that you can go when you're doing a Facebook Live, and you can change your privacy setting to where it says public, and then it says friends, and then it says friends of friends, and all the way down at the bottom it says me. And you can put that privacy setting on me, and you can extend that arm out, and you can practice your live with the privacy setting on me, and it will broadcast to nobody but yourself. And you can do that over and over again and to get yourself practice and see how you are on video, see how your speech comes across. If you have a lot of people say the word a lot, you can learn to alleviate that from your speech process. My point is that there's ways to practice. And if you truly want to do well, if you truly want to avoid potentially losing business or market share, you will do these little things that are important. I know that they may not seem like what you want to do, but the truth is that a lot of times you and I, we do a lot of things during the day that we may not want to do, but they're important for our business. And if you want to stay relevant in property management, you will learn how to put out a live or do a video. Steve, if I showed you some of the first videos I did, as a matter of fact, I might put together a piece where I do this, we would have a great laugh because they're terrible. They're not even funny. They're just terrible. And I did them because I had to. And I've learned along the way. And most property managers can do the same thing. It's important enough that we need to get on there. So no, I would not say delegate that to the pretty face in the office or the person who's very well spoken. I would say that you are the leader and you set the pace in your office, and you need to start doing that. And when you become comfortable with it, guess what? The rest of your team will as well, and it'll be better for your business, for your office.
Right. I like that approach. I like the hard nose, slap you around a little bit. I can appreciate that, especially because listening to you, I think you're right, because it's only going to get more ingrained in the culture. Social media, video, augmented reality, virtual, it's like you're going to get left behind if you're not at least now, I think you could probably share responsibilities a little bit. Like I give some people on my team access to the Instagram so they can shoot stuff when they're out, but yeah, you got to be at least in it and have a working knowledge of it and be able to do it yourself. And it's funny, I go to Grant Cardone mainly to get slapped around, because at 10X this year, he gave us all these wristbands, and it was like, don't be a little B word, And it's funny because I catch myself doing it. I've mentioned on the podcast where I whine about stuff. I don't want to, it's like, stop being a little B, step up, do what's good for your business. And, like you said, these things can be practiced. Like someone taught me something really cool at PM Grow about saying, because I was making a conscious effort to stop saying that. And he's like, put a little rubber band around your wrist and just snap it every time you say that.
Right. It's a touch point. Sure. So a lot of people will touch their lapel or something. So if you find yourself doing something like that, it's a touch point, and it's a way to acknowledge and let yourself know that you need to move off of that. So absolutely. And you do a great job now. I've seen you actually evolve as well in your videos, and I think you do a great job.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I've been working on the thing, and it's probably 90% better than it was 6 or 8 months ago, just 'cause I made a conscious effort.
That's awesome.
But so I want to break real quick, give a quick shout out to our show sponsor, Lead Simple. They are killing it in the world of CRMs for salespeople in property management. And they take care of all sorts of things like collecting the leads, notifying leads with text messages and emails. They have lead capture forms, all sorts of great stuff. So if you're not using Lead Simple, I highly suggest you check it out. Go to leadsimple.com, and we'll put the link in the notes, and enter Steve to get a 10% discount. So appreciate that pause, Salvatore. So what else do you want to talk about social media? Like what's firing you up right now?
What's firing me up? Well, I've had an opportunity to talk about a couple things that are important, but I'm going to go back to the fact that we have the disruptors coming down the road. That's important to me because it's industry wide. I've seen a lot of people. I have a Facebook group that's associated with the Property Management Social Media Bootcamp course. And I put out a lot of content regarding this because I want to keep property managers in the know. And the response that I received from a lot of property managers just kind of made me step back. The response from, we should be suing them to, we should boycott them. Just a lot of emotional reaction that probably is not the best course of action. And I want to get back to that. We can all be disruptors similar to what Zillow and Redfin have done. If you look at what they're really all about, we have the recipe to do that. If you look at what Zillow's done, they use their platform, their website, to build an audience. From that audience, they provided fantastic value. Whether you like it or not, the Zestimate or the rent estimate is valuable to the public. They rely on it to some degree. It may be flawed to some extent, but it is still known. It is branded in a sense. And they've been able then to monetize that audience to the point where they're now being able to step away and engage in these different industries above and beyond some of the mega, NARPM and CAR, and they're in there and they're now basically controlling. We're giving them all of the content for them to do what they do, and they're doing it, in a sense that we have to sit by somewhat idly, but we don't. We can be the disruptors in our own individual communities and our own markets by doing the same thing, building that audience, providing great value to that audience, and then getting recognition in the form of building our brand. And then we can monetize it in the sense that we can get property management accounts and provide services to that audience. So whenever you talk about that word monetizing, a lot of property managers think that's like a bad word. It's not. It's what we're in business for. It's what we need to do. It's what I do my social media for. A lot of people recognize that I do a lot of personal and I do a lot of social media stuff, but the main purpose is to build my business and my brand.
Right.
And if you're doing it for some other reason, you need to take a step back and think about that. Because it is a lot of time that you put forward, and it is a lot of effort, and it needs to make sense from a business perspective. So when you ask me, what else did I want to talk about? We have the ability to be our own disruptors if we just do those simple things, follow the same path as a Zillow or a Redfin. And also remember why we're doing this. We're doing this to build our business and our brand to stay relevant in this industry.
Right. So I think there's a couple keys to any, play on growing your business, especially social media. One would be increasing your reach, increasing your audience. So let's start there. Do you have any tips for our listeners? How do they increase, let's say they're making content, but they're just not getting likes, they're not getting comments, or they're not getting followers, whatever it may be. How should they look at that? And what are some things they could do maybe to gain their audience, grow their audience?
Great question. A lot of times, and that we fall victim to that too. We have to reverse engineer some of the content we put out there. Everything we put out is not a home run. So you have to look at your analytics, and you also have to remember that when you put something out, you don't put it out and leave it there. It's not set and leave. You have to engage back with your audience. Put out something that's meaningful. In my presentations, I always say, what do we do when we're watching a television show that stinks? We change the channel, because we don't want to consume that content. Well, if you're putting out content that's not resonating with your audience, then you need to look at that content and say, maybe this is not what they want. maybe I need to put out something different. So I see that a lot in the real estate industry, where one of the things I talk to property managers about is we all fall for we all fall for the trap of putting out the low-hanging fruit of our rental properties on everything we do. Mm-hmm. And you see this across the board. Now, I'm not saying that you should not market your rental properties. We all know it is important to market your rental portfolio. That is part of our business. But if it's consuming every platform that you have, then you need to maybe change your strategy. You know, red door after red door. Look at this 3-bedroom, 2-bath in Claremont. Look at this 3-bedroom, 2-bath in La Jolla, whatever it is. That gets old after a while. You're not giving something, unless you're doing multi-million-dollar luxury properties, 5, 10 million up. People really don't want to see the inside of a Claremont house every other picture. You need to do something different. So you need to take a hard look at what you're putting out there. And it's not your audience that's, doesn't get it. It's you that's not providing the proper content. And keep in mind, it's a two-way street. You have to engage. Like and comment back on everything. If somebody says, hey, that's a great floor, you need to go back in there, like that comment and say, thank you, we agree. And you need to continue to have that dialogue back and forth. Right now, if you and I were doing this and you were the only one talking, it would be pretty boring, wouldn't it? But we have to go back and forth, and we have to have that conversation where, we're engaging and we're saying things that lead the other person to then formulate what they're going to say next, and that makes something interesting. And that's the same thing on social media. A lot of property managers do that set and forget. We can't do that. We need to engage and build that audience. You need to be somebody who, when you put something out there, you're going to be part of that conversation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you're right in the sense that looking at the metrics is a great place to start, because honestly, that was something we didn't really do well. Is we're always just kind of guessing what we should put out. We're like, okay, well, let's look at our top performing blogs. Let's look at what has gotten the most engagement, and then starting there. And something that people can also do that's really helped me this year is looking at, at the funnel, the sales, the sales funnel, and, looking, really structuring and putting thought into what type of content you're going to create. Like, is it top of funnel, very like awareness, funny video, like what, trying different things, because a lot of times we'll just do the very bottom of the funnel stuff, which is like why you should choose Good Life Property Management, or, where people might not be there. And so I think that's where a lot of the personal stuff you talk about comes in, to get the people to like, know, and trust you, follow you. And
absolutely.
Then,
it's
types of stuff.
It's like dating. Now, I believe you're married. Is that correct?
Correct.
We're both married men, but I'm going to talk about dating for, I don't know why. But anyway, it's like dating. When you're dating, you go out, you have the first date, you go, maybe coffee or a movie. You work your way up to build that relationship. So in a sense, that's how it is with social media marketing. A lot of times, people go, right for the kill, and they put out there, click here now. And, and that's not showing credibility in terms of building that relationship. You need to bring people through that process, so that first they recognize who you are. That's what we talked about, the obscurity point. Then they trust in what you're doing, because they can see a long list of what you've done, and that you're a pillar in the community, and that, they recognize all the different places you've been in the city. And then 3, if they have a rental property or they know somebody who may need your services, you're top of mind. So if you can put all that together, you will have success at that bottom line funnel when you do put out the call to action piece that's required for you to then get that lead and close that lead. But it is a process similar to how it is with dating. You have to woo your audience and let them know that you're a trustworthy person, and that there's more to what you're doing than just trying to push sales or your product into their face.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. So for someone that maybe is not doing social, I mean, honestly, 6 months ago, we're early. I speak maybe like I've been doing social a long time. Like I haven't. Like we've really started looking at it a lot closer last 6 months, because honestly, I was one of the people like 2 or 3 years ago that didn't use social media personally and really thought Facebook was going to go away at some point. Man, was I wrong. And
yeah,
now
no, it's not going away.
Yeah, I see the writing on the wall. So I'm like, okay, I'm coming back in the pool, guys. So someone that isn't doing anything or isn't doing much, what are 1, 2, 3 things they can start doing to kind of make this a structured process? Or should it not be a structured process? Should it just be really free flowing? How do you recommend?
There's a lot of trial and error. I'm not going to deny that. And I'm going to plug the Property Management Social Media Bootcamp course because I really feel that it's important for somebody. It's out there. We created it for somebody who's just getting started or somebody who feels like they have a strong foundation. You will find value in the course because it does walk you through all the different steps you can do. And it really homes you in on getting rid of a lot of the noise out there and homing in on that Facebook, Instagram, how to set it up, how to go through. We walk you through the process of how to build Facebook ads for property management. They're very specific to property management, and we walk you through how to set up your Instagram profile specific for property management. We show you all the different steps. I have 5 of the top real estate social media influencers who have collaborated with me as part of the bootcamp course. So these are people who are just crushing it in their industry, and they were nice enough to come along and help teach property managers the specific steps. I mean, these are people who speak nationally. They have courses of their own. There is a ton of value in this course for property managers. And, it is a paid course. I will say that, but it's not something to where this is my main source of income. As you know, I'm a property manager. This is something just to help property managers with a question like you asked. How do we get started? Or somebody who's doing it and not getting the type of results that they want. This is a great opportunity for them to dive in and get a refresher and maybe tweak a couple things. I guarantee that property managers will find value in this course, and be able to utilize from day one the 4+ hours of content that we provide in the course for their business.
Perfect. That's what I was going to ask you. So for those that don't know what it is, it's a digital, it's an online course, right? The bootcamp.
Correct.
Okay. And then it's 4 hours approximately?
It's over 4 hours of video, downloadable, and usable content in the course.
Excellent. Excellent. And do you want to say where people can find it or give them any more information on like the cost or anything else at all?
It's $197. It's $197. It's a one-time fee. When I rolled it out, I did a 30-minute consultation. I will also offer that for us here, for any property manager here in San Diego that's listening to the podcast. I will honor that. I'll do a 30-minute free consultation where I look at what you've got going on, or maybe just answer some questions to help out. And that's been very helpful for other property managers. And you can find it at the PM social-bootcamp.com. And we'll put that information somewhere on here, wherever you put the podcast. We can put that in the comments or something like that so people can find the link to it.
Perfect. Yeah, we'll definitely link up to it because I think a lot of people are going to want it. It seems like it's a great value, a lot of great content, and not a lot of cost. So I do applaud you, Salvatore, for putting this together and going after something you're really passionate about. And it looks like a great program that people should check out. So anything else before we go?
No, I just appreciate your time and having me on, and I look forward to seeing you again at our NARPA meetings.
Right on. We'll see you around. Thanks so much.
Very good. Thanks, Steve.
See ya.